For you, my subscribers, I combined sister wives and lemurs. It made them so much cuter. But I still would never trust a lemur. For my subscriber who asked what I'm most looking forward to about finally returning to the United States, I have to share that I miss fall and Halloween so incredibly much. We do celebrate it everywhere we go. We constantly try to get everyone involved, anybody who lives in our apartment complex or friends that we have at whatever school the kids are attending, and we do everything we can to celebrate that holiday because it's my favorite time of the year. I cannot wait to pick out pumpkins and eat a bunch of pumpkin flavored crap. And most of all, I can't wait to decorate my house. Full on hardcore Halloween decorations this year, friends. Okay, this is going to be a short video letting you know, in Katie Joy Paulson's own words, how she basically reaped what she sowed. In my last video, I showed you how Katie Joy is making repeated Facebook posts, specifically targeting, it seems like, Christine and Janelle Brown from the Sister Wives. She's making all kinds of accusations towards this family based upon things that maybe other people who have said who are a part of the AUB, but she always ties it back to the Browns because she knows that's what's going to sell the story. A little while ago, I was speaking with someone on Reddit who claimed that they had knowledge that Katie Joy had originally been approached to work on and appear in a televised documentary about the Duggars and the IBLP. At the time, this made perfect sense for me because Katie had been talking about on her channel that she was doing some kind of special project. And I was just excited to know that there was going to be a documentary, which I had been hearing about, but I wasn't sure. However, the source later talked about how Katie had eventually been dropped from the project once the people in charge started working with people like Clint, and also Sojo Files was named by this source. People that are close to the Duggars and were part of the IBLP or attended the trial. And these people shared with the producers that they didn't trust without a crystal ball. I had no way to prove any of this information or to even know if the guy was who he said he was. But it seems like Katie Joy is proving this story was potentially true after all. So here's what Katie had to say on her Facebook page. Heads up, Katie's version of this story paints her as a victim and demonizes the other people who, I guess, ended up working with the producers. After posting repeatedly about Christine's stillbirth, Without a Crystal Ball made a post about the documentary. She wrote, Amazon's documentary will heavily feature Bobby and Jim Holt as people to help expose the IBLP. Without a Crystal Ball signed on to be part of this documentary in 2021. Shortly after I learned about Jim Holt's alleged violent abuse of his wife and kids, I warned Amazon producers that Jim Holt is not a good source to take down this group. Jim Holt privately expressed to me that he was seeking fame and a book deal out of his participation in the show. He said he would be the man to burn this group down. But I confronted Jim about his abuse, and he quickly began turning everyone against me. 2 weeks ago, I learned that Jim began telling Amy and Deanna Duggar, remember what happened with Katie and Amy. So apparently Jim began telling Amy and Deanna Duggar that I was a liar, someone that was only after money, and that they shouldn't trust me. Unfortunately, based upon what I said in my last video, a lot of this has panned out to be true. Amy and I had a long conversation about the confusion that ensued after Jim began his efforts to turn her against me. This is just so weird. It's like Katie Joy isn't even a part of this. Is Amy Duggar really immediately calling Without a Crystal Ball a YouTuber to find out information about what's going on in her own dang family? You know what I mean? This seems so weird to me. And this tells me all I need to know about Amy, because she goes on to say, Amy and I have sorted through all of this. I'm sure many of you are aware that after Amy stopped talking to Katie Joy from Without a Crystal Ball, Katie Joy publicly displayed all of Amy's private financial information about her business and her house. She made constant posts on Facebook about how Amy and her husband were going to lose everything because they were so financially strapped. She also made some sort of accusations that Amy had tax problems and hadn't paid taxes having to do with her company. She said in one of her videos, I think it was a live video, that she approached Amy about this, who was supposedly her friend, and said something like, I found your tax lien. You want to tell me what that's about? Of course, none of this came out or none of it started happening until Amy publicly went up against Without a Crystal Ball. So Katie says, Amy and I have sorted through all of this, and there are no hard feelings. I shared everything I knew about the alleged abuse with Deanna and Amy on the phone 2 weeks ago. I also then spoke to a producer at Amazon for over an hour about these allegations. I am not part of this series due to what I believe is Jim's interference. I do not have an NDA. And I was released by them last year after I was released, quote unquote, by them last year after I signed with another streaming network for a different project. And I believe the different project is what she's working on about the AUB. And that's why she's very interested in talking to people like Emily Lee and other people who are involved in the AUB. She's hoping to get her name on this project. I learned that Jim and Bobby will be heavily featured in the series. The producers seemed shell-shocked about the news that the producers needed Katie Joy to tell them that Jim had been served by his wife and son. I mean, even I knew about it. People on the Duggar Snark group were talking about it repeatedly, and I'm sure that's where Katie got the information. So I hate to be negative about this, but I really think that this is another situation where Katie Joy is completely manipulating and trying to put out a narrative that doesn't even make any sense, but somehow paints her in the best light possible. They also frantically called other people involved in the series to figure out what to do. This is the best part because everyone needs Katie Joy, and they eventually come around to realize that she was 100% right about everything, at least according to Katie Joy's Facebook page. Katie Joy says, The producer I spoke to apologized to me for not listening to me and the credible evidence that I had provided to them about Jim's alleged abuse. They seem totally lost about how this will move forward with Jim playing such a big role, though it will go forward. Given how I was treated by this production, I do not feel they have the best intentions of victims, survivors, or advocates in mind making this series. Victims of Bill Gothard have privately expressed to me their disgust with their experience with the production. I also know that Jim Bob and Michelle will not participate in this series. I don't know. I mean, just tell me if I'm being crazy, but am I the only one who sees this as pure bullshit? In the comments following this post, many of Without a Crystal Ball's top fans say things like, I will not watch the documentary, or that makes me not want to watch it. And Without a Crystal Ball says, I will watch it, but the producers were awful to me. She didn't contact me for a year, and I sent her messages. Oh, poor Katie Joy. I totally see this. I'm sure Katie Joy was repeatedly trying to get a hold of them, like, please let me back onto the show. And I sent her messages. Then I tell her, Jim has a protection order, and she called so damn fast. She sounded so freaked out and tried to backtrack. I literally went off on her because I warned her about him a year ago. Ugh. Okay. So the point being, from my point of view, when I first heard about this entire documentary and how Without a Crystal Ball was going to be featured in it, I thought, like, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, she's been following this group and this story for quite a long time, and it seems like it would have been a great opportunity for her to move on up and expand her reach out further beyond, YouTube. But for me, it really stands out as an example where even though Katie Joy has gone on to make countless videos about the situations and hundreds of thousands of dollars off of the Duggars over the past year, and she probably doesn't need the money from the documentary, she still missed out on an amazing opportunity as a consequence of how she treats other people. Jim Holt is his own can of worms. Allegedly, his wife and son have filed restraining orders against him. Whether or not this is at all related to like their religious beliefs or anything to do with the IBLP is really unknown. Without a Crystal Ball has made allegations on her YouTube channel and on her Facebook page that sources have told her that Jim was highly abusive to his children as well as to his wife. Of course, I haven't seen anyone substantiate these claims as of yet. This documentary is allegedly going to be called Shiny Happy People. Some are saying it's scheduled to come out as early as the summer. We'll have to wait and see what happens, especially because we don't know what's going on with Jim Holt at this point in time. But the point I'm trying to make in all of this with my last two videos is that it's become clear to me that Katie Joy's real interest in quote-unquote victims has more to do with making her videos, pulling in views, and keeping that money rolling in than it ever has had to do with helping anyone. Emily Lee, the AUB victim that Katie Joy interviewed recently on her channel, actually left a post on my channel where she specifically said, "I really trust Katie and believe she wants to help people who are really struggling in the AUB." She said that she knows for sure Katie is working with a lot of different sources from the church. And like I've said before, I'm pretty sure Katie is trying to get another type of documentary show going with all of this. I've made it clear that I would never want to directly hurt Katie Joy. I mean, I have a very small channel, so I'm sure videos like this don't directly affect her. But I'm not going to stop calling out the really nasty and inappropriate behavior I'm seeing. Thank you all for joining me here tonight. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow when I head down my next rabbit hole.